He walked back into Atlético Madrid this week expecting a conversation. What he got instead was an empty office, a coach on a plane to Ibiza, and a message he never saw coming. Reports say Julián Álvarez exploded. And that reaction, not the transfer fee, not the rumors, might be the real story here. Because behind that outburst sits a decision Atlético just made public. A decision that reportedly left Barcelona stunned. There's a number involved. A number so large it changes everything. And almost nobody is talking about the one detail that could still blow this wide open. Julián Álvarez isn't just another name on a transfer list. This is a World Cup winner, a Manchester City title winner, a striker who delivered what Simeone called a mountain of things across his 2 seasons in Madrid. He's 26 in his prime, and Atlético reportedly built their entire attacking project around him. That's exactly why this matters. During the World Cup, Álvarez publicly said he wanted to fulfill his dream, words widely read as a signal he wanted out, with Barcelona as his preferred destination. For a player this important to say that out loud in public is almost unheard of. It put pressure on everyone, the coach, the board, the fans, and it set up a collision that has now reached a breaking point. When a player like this speaks, nobody looks away. The signs were there for months. First came Real Madrid, whose reported €150 million bid was rejected back in June. Then Barcelona entered the picture, chasing a replacement for Robert Lewandowski, whose contract expired and who left the club in June. Barca's interest escalated fast. Reports describe offers climbing from under €100 million toward around €120 million. Then things got messy. Atletico reportedly filed a complaint to FIFA accusing Barcelona of tapping up Álvarez, approaching the player illegally. Barcelona were then reported to be preparing an appeal. This wasn't a quiet negotiation anymore. It had become, in the words of one outlet, an ugly saga, and through all of it, one voice stayed strangely calm. Atletico's leadership kept repeating the same thing over and over. He's not for sale. At first it sounded like standard transfer posturing. Every club says that. But this time something felt different, like they meant it in a way nobody expected. Then the temperature spiked. Álvarez returned from his post-World Cup break and, according to a report from Mundo Deportivo's John Poqui, planned to sit down with Simeone after training to formally request his move. Except Simeone wasn't there. He had reportedly taken a 2-day family vacation in Ibiza following Atletico's Asia tour. Álvarez then discovered CEO Gil Marín was also absent from his office. That was the trigger. Reports say the striker was furious, the explosion that made headlines. Meanwhile, Barcelona weren't sitting still. They had reportedly set Atletico a deadline of July 31st to accept their offer, warning that their money wouldn't be unlimited. The clock was ticking. The fans were split. Some Rojiblanco supporters were upset their striker had publicly flirted with leaving. And the crucial face-to-face meeting between Álvarez and Simeone, expected on August 10th, was suddenly pushed back to August 13th or later as Simeone extended his break. Everything was building toward one moment. And then Atletico said the words that changed the tone completely. Speaking to the media in Seoul, Diego Simeone didn't dodge. He drew a line in the sand. "The situation is very clear," he said. "The institution has taken a decision that Miguel Ángel explained very well. From a sporting point of view, we are very happy to have a player like Julián, and we will help him to keep growing and improving." Translation: Álvarez stays, no sale, full stop. But here's the detail that turns this from a stance into a bombshell. Álvarez is under contract until 2030. And reports point to a release clause worth a staggering €500 million. Atletico's CEO has publicly suggested they'd reject offers even up to €200 million. That's not a negotiating position. That's a wall. Suddenly, Barcelona weren't just being outbid, they were being told the door doesn't exist. And Simeone twisted the knife further, referencing Antoine Griezmann's ill-fated move to Barcelona and eventual return to Atleti, a not-so-subtle warning about how these dreams sometimes end. So, what's really at stake? On one side, Álvarez, who reportedly believes a transfer is best for everyone and wants to chase the project under Hansi Flick at Barcelona. On the other, Atlético, who see him as the untouchable centerpiece of their squad, a player they refuse to lose to a domestic rival, let alone at a discount. Barcelona sit in the middle needing a striker, chasing a dream, but reportedly unwilling to meet the astronomical valuation. Then there's the money problem beneath it all. For Barca to make this work, reports suggest they'd need Álvarez's price to fall dramatically, possibly with players moving the other way. That's a huge if. And there are competing versions of the truth here. Some reports frame Álvarez as determined to force his way out. Others, including Mundo Deportivo, suggest a new season under Simeone now looks like the most probable outcome, with his entourage even advising him to apologize publicly to cool tensions. Same saga, two completely different endings, and nobody outside those closed-door rooms knows for certain which way it tips. So, where does this go? Realistically, there are three paths. The first, Álvarez stays. Given Simeone's public firmness, the CEO's stance, and the €500 million clause, this currently looks the most likely on the available evidence. He returns to training, tensions slowly settle, and Atlético keep their star. The second, a late breakthrough. If Álvarez pushes hard enough and Barcelona find creative financing, cash plus players, the valuation could theoretically come down since reports suggest the player controls his own fate if he truly forces the issue. But with only about 3 weeks left in the window at the time of Simeone's comments, time is against them. The third, the standoff simply drags on, poisoning the dressing room until something breaks. Either the club's resolve or the player's patience. Each path has consequences far beyond one man. It affects Barcelona's entire attacking plan post-Lewandowski, Atletico's title ambitions, and a transfer market watching to see whether a club can truly hold a star who wants out. The dramatic ending would be a shock move. But the evidence, right now, points the other way. Here's the piece that's getting lost in the noise. The showdown meeting, the one where Álvarez planned to formally demand his exit, keeps getting delayed. First August 10th, then August 13th. Simeone reportedly chose not to rush back to Madrid. Think about that timing. Every day that meeting slips, the transfer window shrinks. Every day of delay quietly works in Atletico's favor. Is that a coincidence? Or is it strategy? Running down the clock until a move becomes impossible? At the same time, reports say Álvarez's own camp is now advising him to apologize publicly and calm the fans. A player who exploded days ago, now being told to make peace. That's not the behavior of someone certain he's leaving. It's the behavior of someone starting to sense the wall isn't moving. And that shift in tone might tell you more than any transfer rumor could. So let's separate what we actually know from everything else swirling around this saga. What's confirmed? Diego Simeone has stated publicly on the record that Atlético Madrid have made a decision and Álvarez is not for sale. That's not a rumor. Those are his words, spoken to reporters in Seoul. Also confirmed, Álvarez publicly expressed a desire to leave during the World Cup. Barcelona have shown serious interest as they look to replace Robert Lewandowski, and Atlético even filed a complaint accusing Barca of tapping up their striker. All real, all documented. Now, what's still just rumor? There is no agreement between Álvarez and Barcelona. No official bid has been accepted. No transfer has been announced. Reports about his explosion, about apologies from his entourage, about the shifting meeting dates, those come from Spanish media, not from official club statements. Treat them as strong signals, not settled facts. And the honest read, based on everything available right now? The evidence points toward him staying. The €500 million clause, the club's firmness, Simeone's calm confidence. It all leans one way. But football has taught us that impossible transfers happen when a player pushes hard enough and a window is closing fast. That single meeting between Álvarez and Simeone could still flip this entire story overnight. So I'll leave you with this. Do you believe Álvarez stays and honors his contract, or is Barcelona about to shock everyone? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe right now so you don't miss the next twist, because this one is far from over.